Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
Let's go to Rachel, who's in Spokane, Washington, the city I was born in. What's going on, Rachel?
It's a pretty all right city, I'll say that.
It's great.
Hey.
What can we do?
Thanks for taking my call. I would love some advice. It's sort of financial related, kind of not my finances, but I am 32 years old, and I'm an independent parent, which means like I chose to become a parent by myself after, I was 25, 26, 27, couldn't find anyone. We never aligned with like finances or like financial ideology or having children.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 years ago, I decided to have a child on my own. I love my daughter. She is the best. Oh my goodness.
Good for you.
I feel like I really made some good decisions, and she's a little older now. She's 4 now. And, a lot of friends and family are always asking me, like, you should start dating soon. Like, why aren't you going on dates? Like, why are you not doing this? And a really big reason, so I'm 32. I don't have any debt. I don't have any credit card debt. I paid off all my loans, credit card debt, car, all that when I was 26, by the time I was 26. And a huge reason is kind of a feeling of, there's the obvious, not just like letting anyone around my daughter, not just like
For sure.
I don't want to, there's that reason. But the reason I'm calling is that my friend set me up on a date with one of her work friends or something, her husband's work friend. And we were just chatting. He's like, well, how do you do it? How do you like single parent? It must be so hard. And I was like, oh, well, like, I don't live with debt. I like my job. Like, it's not really that hard. Like, it's hard if you are, like, if I'm like very financially stable.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, well, I'm like $450,000 in debt and like all these things. And he started just kind of naming his, this is my first date with this person.
Wow,
and I was like, oh, I know a lot about you. And
What we say not to do on a first date.
I know. Well, at least now you know.
Like, oh. Yeah. And I was like, maybe this is my fault because I was just casually just trying to like keep it lighthearted. Like, oh, I don't live with debt. But like to me, it's been so long since I've lived with debt that I was like, maybe people just love talking about this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to my friend. She's like, oh, like how'd it go? I was like, I don't really think this is like for me. And when I was explaining, like, it's not just about introducing someone to my daughter's life. It's also about introducing that whatever, like,
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to date without the intention of marriage. And
sure.
And I don't know how to explain, and I don't even know if it's wrong to like not give somebody a chance, knowing that we're on totally different pages. And
you
how
get to set your
explain to friends and
non-negotiables.
family.
Listen, you get to set your non-negotiables. You get to have that list of, here are the things that I really, at this point in my life, want to align on. And you get to say what that is. And you also get to reevaluate that with time. Like, listen, you could come up with a list of 5 things. And if you find out that after 10 years, no one is meeting up to your expectations, you get to decide, well, maybe I am being a little too,
right.
Like, maybe, is there anything that I can change? Or is there anything that I'm being a little too judgmental on? And having listen, you guys talked about this really early in the relationship. Had you have dated for 4 months and fallen in love, and then him sprung on the $500,000 of debt or however much it was, listen, you might have married him anyway, like I did. But
yeah. So I think Rachel, I think you have to, I would go into it, and I wouldn't put this, thing out there that if they do have debts, it's an absolute no. Right. And I'm not saying you're saying that, but what's important is the value system, right? So if they came to you and was like, oh my gosh, I still have $100,000 of student loan debt and I hate it. I don't want to, I feel this burden. I'm trying to pay it off. Like, that's somebody that you're like, okay, I can get on the same team. We are running in the same direction. And I think the same would be true, for a spiritual aspect, how you want to raise kids.
Yeah.
The in-laws and family, like, these are big topics in life. And when you marry somebody, those topics collide, and you're not always going to be the same person. You're not going to marry the clone of you, right? So you're going to probably always have a different take, a different spin on these things, but the overall direction is what you're looking for. So yeah, I don't think I wouldn't find someone really attractive if he's like, I got $450,000 in debt and I'm about to go buy another property and keep leveraging myself. I'm like, that's great for you, but that's just not attractive to me. Like, I can't, and I would say the same thing, lines like that in a spiritual sense or with kids, like, right. There's things that you're just like, we just won't be aligned in life. So I don't think you're being too picky. I would say, if you had called and said, yeah, just because he has debt, I won't date him.
Yeah, that's no.
That I wouldn't say that's, I would not go down that route. But
especially if they've been like, and I want to get out of it.
right. So it's all
Right.
about where they're going and what the values are going forward. But I think everyone has kind of that one subject in life that they're really passionate about with the other person, right? And so naturally yours might be money, Rachel, not from a shallow perspective, but something that you really cherish your convictions and you really want to partner in this. And I think that's big.
The thing to consider, especially with the debt aspect of this, is let's just say, you've gone on 4 or 5 dates and it comes up at Applebee's and you start talking about it. Remember, there's still time. Like, you're not getting married tomorrow. So if this guy has $60,000 of debt, there's time for him to pay that off before you get married. Like, does that make sense? Like, if you're really feeling some type of way of like, man, I really sacrificed to pay off my debt. I don't know if I have the stomach to go through another 60,000. Just think about the fact that there's still a timeline. Like, you're not getting married tomorrow, and you'll be able to see if this person really does show and prove what their values are, because are they actively trying to get out of debt? It has 8 months passed and they've paid off nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to see that come out in the wash. So I wouldn't get too hung up on it within, the first few days or even the first few months necessarily if you're on the fence. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, I think that something was just like a bit of a flag. He was like, "Oh, I have all this money." He's like, "But the government's going to cancel student debt, so that's fine." I was like,
no, red flag for sure.
No. I feel like that for me. So maybe I should have added that. And I was like, okay, there's one thing to like know you're at least. Some people don't even know how much money they're in debt, but I felt really bad. I was like, I felt really shallow, and I know that it's one thing to ask for someone to not be in debt, but this is great advice. Thank you. No, I just walked away. I was like, I have no idea how I feel about this right now.
And I think give yourself some grace too, because $450,000.
It's a lot of money.
Even if he's trying to get out, that is it's kind of a especially if it doesn't include a mortgage, that's a breathtaking number. So I think that's fair that you're like, oh gosh, like that is a lot of debt, and so. No, I don't think you're being too judgmental. I wouldn't count someone out just because they have debt. It's all about the value system and where they're going moving forward. And could you see yourself with them in the future, right? If they're walking that. But that's tough. And Rachel's you're a very, to do what you've done, even with a child, like what was she, 30 years old? And so, all of that, like that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you've made choices in life that are very mature. And you've taken on a lot of responsibility in life. And so I do think your husband has a high bar, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Hey, in the chat, I would love when people get a chance to put their thoughts on this in the chat, like what your non-negotiable is.
Like dating.
And we can talk about it at some point, because, listen, after paying off the debt that we paid off, if God forbid something happened to Sam Warshaw and I had to get out there in these streets, if somebody came at me, I don't know if I could
do
stomach
it again. It was just
even
so
like 30K would be like, no. So everybody's got their limits.
That's fair, Jade.
I'd be interested to know what you guys think about this. Throw it in the chats.
Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.